Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All coming to you from Las Vegas again, taking a break in CES to do a quick video on the new Tesla Model 3 that I'm sure a lot of people have heard about. It came out yesterday, but with all the insanity and meeting people and all of that cool stuff, I didn't have a chance to talk about this yesterday, but I really wanted to talk about this because there's some really interesting stuff here. So first of all, new Model 3, there is only the standard and long range. There is not the performance just like it was in China. So the performance is no longer available. I actually just looked and you cannot custom order it or anything. But one interesting factor about this is you'll see that the EPA estimated range is 341 miles. That may not seem like a big deal, and actually it might seem like a slight reduction from what we had before, but it is actually a big deal because of the new EPA ratings. I'm going to flip over here to the Model Y, and we're going to take a look at the long range, which is the competitor. So you can see that's been reduced from, I think 330 miles was what it was prior to this EPA switch, to 310 miles. So the fact that the Model 3 now has officially a range of, if I can get this off of here, 341 miles, which is down from, I think, 353, if I'm remembering correctly. But anyway, that is a good sign in general that we're seeing the mileage be very, very robust on this new Model 3. Obviously, new styling similar to the one that is made in China as well. All-wheel drive, custom order. We're going to get to the custom ordering in just a minute. Built for distance, right? Single charge, different looking front end. It's rather, I think the front end is much more aggressive than the previous version of the Model 3, so I'm a very big fan of that. Some people are not as much, but I actually really like that styling. Of course, we get two new colors. We get the gray and we get the red, which is similar to actually the same, I assume, as the Tesla Model Y, the new one. And so people had speculated that because we saw the two new colors for the Model Y that we were going to be getting the, quote, Highland version of the Model 3. As far as it being called Highland or refreshed or updated or whatever, I believe in China they're now calling it the Model 3 Plus, but here they have removed every other option except purchasing this. So essentially, it's just the new iPhone, right? You just buy the new Tesla Model 3 and you don't worry about which one it is particularly. So anybody ordering it from here on forward, unless you get inventory stock where there's a car that's already in inventory, you are almost definitely going to get this version of the vehicle. So some interior features here, all new interior, wraparound styling, cocoons you the inside, customize ambient lighting and make it your own. So we've got the ambient light bar as we had seen before. We've got a horn in the middle. We've got no stalks as per usual. So Tesla is slowly but surely getting rid of the stalks in all of their vehicles. And of course, we've got the regular touchscreen, all of that kind of stuff. And then as far as I've seen from the introduction, there is a rear screen in here, but for some reason I cannot find it in the list of items that they have. But anyway, there is a rear screen as far as I understand it right here. In fact, I think you can see it right there. Don't know why they didn't call that out in particular, but anyway. So we've got premium materials, so that's cool. Sophisticated materials, all that good stuff. Sublime sound, 17 speakers, dual subwoofers. I mean, that's going to be kick-ass. I can't wait to try that out somewhere. Oh, here it is, rear display. So we've got the rear display, so yeah, so the kiddies can watch TV in the back and all of that kind of stuff and not bother you. Of course, ventilated seats, which is the one part of this vehicle. Like everything else, I'm kind of cool with. It's like whatever. It's a refresh. It's not that big of a deal, but the ventilated seats are something that I really wish I could get in Georgia because I tend to sweat all of the time. And then finally, they call out dual phone charging, which is not a big deal because that's been in every Tesla for a really long time. Next up, we have a quieter cabin, Whisper Quiet Cabin, 360-degree acoustic glass. So if you don't know, acoustic glass previously has been on the front, on the windshield in the front and on the front two windows, but not on the back and not on the rear two windows. So, you've got a better, quieter environment now. So people who have driven it say it's distinctly quieter, so they definitely notice that. And then, of course, here they call out the on-the-road range. So it says you can add up to 175 miles in 15 minutes. That sounds somewhat right if you have it just perfect and everything. But anyway, that's that's a pretty good deal. It means that it is not as big a deal. A lot of people really get weirded out before they purchase an EV about how long it's going to take to charge. It does not take that long to charge up the bulk of the mileage on the vehicle. Now, if you want to top it off, yes, it is going to take a long time. And also remember that most of the time you're charging at your home or someplace convenient where you don't have to worry about it. And then if you are on road trips, you can immediately leave the vehicle. You don't have to stand next to it while you're fueling it. So there are mitigating circumstances. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. So anyway, they call out 175 miles in 15 minutes, which is a pretty good deal. And then, of course, they talk about the structure of the vehicle here. Now, one thing that was really interesting and people were wondering about with the rigidity of the vehicle is whether it has gigacastings now in this new version of the Model Y. A little difficult to tell. Honestly, I don't think it does, but maybe. But it looks like this is kind of the old style version of building it in the front, at least. In the rear, it's very difficult to tell. So there could actually be a gigacasting back there, but maybe not in the front. Maybe there is in the front as well. They're just sort of hiding it cleverly to make sure that you can't really see that. But there was a question of whether it does have gigacastings, and that's one of the reasons why it's a little more rigidly solid. And then, of course, as per usual, they call out the safety, safety overview and everything, and you get the 360 view, all of that kind of stuff. And then finally, of course, the autopilot and full self-driving. I don't know for a fact that full self-driving will be in the initial rollout. I'm sure it will roll out relatively quickly, but it's a new vehicle, and so they may have to do some tweaking to all of the parameters and things like that. So you may not get full self-driving immediately, but I'm sure it will happen relatively quickly because it's more or less the same size and everything as the previous version of the Model 3. All right, so now let's turn to the interesting thing, which is the cost of this vehicle, and this is where things get really intriguing here. So you can see there's the standard range Model 3, which is with potential savings. Let's look at the purchase price for a second here. So it's $39,000. I'm not going to worry about that extra $10. So I'm going to round up by $10 here. But anyway, it's $39,000 for the standard range Model 3, and it is $46,000 for the all-wheel drive, and there is no performance version of it anymore. You cannot order that. I assume you can take stock that's already available and stuff like that and purchase it, but you cannot purchase a new performance Model 3 anymore, just like in China. They do not allow that. It's just not available. I assume there is some cool new version of this vehicle that's coming out that's going to be even more spiffy, and that's what they're waiting for. But the interesting part here is that you do not get the $7,500 tax credit for either of these versions anymore. So if we roll in this potential savings, which is like gas savings and all of this kind of stuff, but it's a good proxy for the total cost of the vehicle to own. You can see the Model 3 standard range only goes down to $36,000, and the Model 3 long range only goes down to $43,000. So it's not a really big savings. And so I want to look at the Model Y here instead. And so if we look at the purchase price, you can see standard range $44,000, long range $49,000, performance $53,000. But when we roll in the probable savings with the $7,500 tax credit, which does count for the Model Y, you can see that suddenly the Model Y is effectively $33,000, $38,000, or $42,000. And if you look at this with the probable savings, you can see even the Model Y performance is effectively less than the Model 3 long range still. So it's a very bizarre thing. A lot of people are very confused because they said, okay, the standard range is LFP batteries, made in China batteries, so obviously it's not going to count for the tax credit, but why isn't the long range counting for the tax credit? And I was listening to the Out of Spec podcast while I was working out this morning, and one of the, I don't know who it was, maybe Kyle, suggested that it might be that this vehicle is actually being manufactured in Shanghai and shipped to the United States. And that would be a really interesting twist on everything if Fremont perhaps is retooling and they just have it shut down for a period of time working on the new Model 3. And while they're doing that, they're actually shipping some of the vehicles in from China. So this could be a temporary thing. And in the United States, we can't get China-made vehicles at all. And they were very excited because they were like, we hear great things about the quality of the China-made everything that's made there. So if that does turn out to be the case, I do not know. And like they said, they didn't want to start rumors. I don't want to start rumors either, but it would be one reason why the Model 3 long range would not be getting the tax credit at this point. But also, if that's the case, the likelihood is that they will be tooling up and spooling up the Fremont factory and producing it from there. So if that happens, then if they're using the same batteries they used in the old Model 3, then it should get the tax credit again, I think. I don't know. This is all very confusing. The IRS is just making this a complete disaster in terms of trying to figure out which ones get credits. So anyway, I would not bank on that, and I certainly wouldn't make a purchase based on that because we don't know that at this point. But if anybody has access to a US North American sold Model 3, not necessarily made, and you can see the VIN, definitely read off the first 2 or 3 numbers on that so we can see where it's made. And that would be really intriguing if it happened to have been made in Shanghai as opposed to in the United States. If that's the case, I predict it will be a very temporary thing while Fremont fixes all their retools and all that kind of stuff. But it sounds like more than likely what we're looking at is a retooled Fremont built in the US, built in California, which is the reason why we're looking at a delivery date of January to February, which is not that far away. I mean, we're not looking at something that's like March, April or something. So if you order this today, you should get the new version and it should come in relatively quickly, 4 to 6 weeks, something along those lines. So that should be great. Okay, so that's what I got for you. I got to get back to CES. Well, it's not even 7 o'clock in the morning, so I may actually lay down for a minute or get some coffee or something like that. But anyway, I'm going to get back to CES. There's a ton of videos. I think I did 8 yesterday, so they'll be coming out over time, and then of course probably another 6 or 7 today or something like that. Another of those tomorrow. So we'll have a lot of CES stuff over time. So definitely stay tuned and subscribe and all of that good stuff. And in the meantime, let me know what you think about this Model 3 and whether you're going to order one or not. And everybody have a lovely day. See ya. Bye-bye.